VOA Learning English. This is the Education Report. Kid Pen Ali is a non-profit organization that holds songwriting workshops for students across the United States. The organization recently visited a school in the Anacostia area of Washington. The children presented a concert with the help of songwriter and recording artist Paul Ressler. He established Kid Pen Ali in 1999. Since then, he has worked with more than 35,000 students and produced more than 2,200 songs. He says the power of music can teach children skills they might not learn in school. He believes the American educational system is focused too much on standardized tests designed to measure knowledge. But Paul Ressler says we now live in a creative economy. He says his group is trying to inspire children to be creative. At our elementary school in Anacostia, 95% of students come from poor families. Marlon Ray is the school dean of students. He says some of the children have difficult lives, but he says these kids still want to strive for greatness. Jonathan is the director of programs at the school. She says the 4th and 5th grade students are often focused on more than school. Some have to help their families or live in homeless shelter. A shooting took place in April directly in front of the school. No one was injured, but the incident affected the whole community. Students are often influenced by what happens around them. Still, our elementary school has a positive, helpful atmosphere. Marlon Ray says the workshop and concert made possible by Kid Pen Ali created good memories that will last for years. For VOA Learning English, I'm Laura Bowman. From VOA Learning English, this is the Education Report. Many series are trying to study overseas while a civil war continues in their country. Thousands of Syrian university students sought help when they learned there was money to help them continue their education. Lean on the Park is with Yasur, an organization for Syrians living overseas. Yasur worked with the American-based Institute of International Education to create the Syrian Consortium for Higher Education in Crisis. More than 40 universities in the United States and Europe agreed to provide emergency aid to Syrian students and professors. Each university decides which students to accept. Universities in the consortium are supporting 70 students right now. One member of the consortium is American University in Washington. It is supporting a Syrian graduate student and a faculty member in the university's School of International Service. Danielle Lockhart is the vice president of the Institute of International Education. She expects there will be 8 opportunities for 600 Syrian students during the next few months. She notes that a former president of Portugal, Jorge Sampaio, launched a scholarship program called the Global Platform for Syrian Students. He created the program because of Portugal's history of educating Jewish refugee children during the World War II. The Institute of International Education also has a scholar rescue fund for university professors and researchers in any country in crisis. This year, the fund found places for 30 Syrian scholars in 5 countries. All of the scholarship programs may be found online at iie.org. For VOA Learning English, I'm Alice Villarreal. Lesson 3. From VOA Learning English, this is the Education Report. The United Nations Children's Fund is appealing to international donors to help provide education money for Syrian school children. Safe places to learn, teachers and supplies are all lacking, and almost 2 million young Syrian students have dropped out of school. UNICEF says about 40% of students from grades 1 to 9 across the nation no longer attend formal classes. UNICEF spokeswoman Marisi Mercado says about half of the children are now refugees in Lebanon, Jordan, Iraq, and Turkey. In the northern city of Aleppo, for example, only 6% of children of school age are in classrooms. But the school year there and in other locations began as planned on September 15th. Talk of a military strike by the United States has caused uncertainty about starting classes. But school opened after a strike appeared less likely. Still, many children who once walked to school are now taken there by their parents, and other families have simply left the country. Lebanon now is trying to help about 550,000 school-age Syrian refugee children. UNICEF says the Lebanese public education system can take care of 300,000 Lebanese children. UNICEF establishing schools for refugee children in buses. In Jordan, UNICEF says about 2/3 of 150,000 Syrian school-age children are not in school. In Iraq, UNICEF says 9 out of 10 Syrian refugee children are out of school. Inside Syria, Ms. Mercado says the educational system has been torn apart. Both UNICEF and the Syrian government says about 3,000 schools have been damaged or destroyed. For VOA Learning English, I'm Alice Villarreal. Lesson 3 From VOA Learning English. This is the education report. South Africa has 11 official languages. If you want to say hello, it's Sawubona in Zulu and hello in Afrikaans. Now South African school children may start using Ni Hao to say hello. The country's education ministry hopes to add Mandarin language classes in some schools. Mandarin is the official spoken language of China. That country is a major trading power for South Africa. The two countries recently signed an agreement that identifies 5 areas of cooperation. They include curriculum development, mathematics and science, teacher training, and research and development in basic education. South African officials have not said how much the Mandarin language classes will cost. Troy Martens works for the Ministry of Basic Education. She says the new partnership is extremely valuable to both sides. The part of the plan that has gained the most attention is a proposal to offer Mandarin classes in schools. Last year, a public opinion survey showed that 46% of South Africans do not like the spread of Chinese ideas and customs in their country. And 60% of South Africans says they dislike Chinese music, movies, and television. But Ms. Martens says trade with China is more important than those feelings. She says it is extremely helpful for South African students to learn about the Mandarin language and Chinese culture. And she says not every school will offer the language training. South African census officials have not said how many native Chinese speakers there are in the country. For VOA Learning English, I'm Alice Villarreal. The lesson 5 From VOA Learning English, this is the education report. Crowding up can be hard in poor neighborhoods where crime is common. That is the situation Marco Antonio Aguilar faced when he started at Garfield High School in Los Angeles, California. The boy hated school. He says he had the wrong friends, often missed classes, and even got into fights. The school suspended him, barring him from attending classes. He almost was sent to a school for problem students. But Marco Antonio changed his behavior. He says a talk with his mother helped him change, and he praises his teacher for the help they provided. But now students at Garfield High no longer receive suspensions. The punishment itself has been suspended. Jose Huerta, the Garfield High principal, took the action. when he first arrived at Garfield more than 4 years ago. Back then, more than half the students were leaving school without finishing their studies. At the same time, Garfield was suspending nearly 700 students yearly. But Miss Husa has other ideas about how to deal with young people who misbehave. He says most of suspensions were for behavior known as willful defiance. He says that could include something as minor as chewing gum in class. Under Mr. Husa's leadership, students involved in willful defiance first talk to a teacher, then parents may get involved. Finally, group support can be provided. Today, Garfield graduated 95% of its students. And last year, the Los Angeles Unified School District changed its punishment policy. The whole district banned suspension to punish students for willful defiance. For VOA Learning English, I'm Alice Villarreal.